In April 2016, a 26-year-old DJ stood on stage at Ushuaia in front of 40,000 people. The bass was shaking the ground. The crowd was screaming his name, and Tim Bergling, the kid from Stockholm the world knew as Avicii, was about to walk away from it all. He had played over 800 shows in 6 years. He had headlined every major festival on the planet. His songs had been streamed billions of times. He had redefined what electronic dance music could sound like. But behind the lights, the festival stages, and the private jets, something was breaking. This is the story of how one producer from Sweden changed the sound of an entire genre and what it cost him. Tim Bergling didn't grow up dreaming of stadium tours or million-dollar DJ fees. He grew up in Stockholm, obsessed with music production software and spending hours alone in his bedroom learning to make beats. His older brother introduced him to electronic music. Artists like Daft Punk and Swedish House Mafia showed him what dance music could be: euphoric, emotional, massive. By his late teens, Tim was uploading tracks to online forums, getting feedback from producers around the world, refining his sound. He wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing the perfect melody. In 2010, he released a track called Seek Bromance. It went viral across Europe. Radio stations picked it up, blogs wrote about it. Suddenly, this quiet kid from Sweden had a hit. Labels started calling, agents started booking him. Tim Bergling became Avicii. But it was 2011 that changed everything. Levels dropped in October of that year, and it didn't just become a hit, it became a cultural moment. That piano riff, that infectious energy, that feeling of pure, unfiltered joy. It was melodic house at its most euphoric, and it spread like wildfire. Festivals, radio, commercials, late-night TV, Levels was everywhere. And just like that, Avicii wasn't an underground producer anymore. He was a global phenomenon. The early 2010s were the golden age of EDM. Dance music exploded into the mainstream. Festivals became cultural institutions. DJs started headlining arenas. And Avicii was at the center of it all. He played Ultra Music Festival in Miami. He played Tomorrowland in Belgium. He played Coachella, Electric Daisy Carnival, every major stage on Earth. And every time he stepped behind the decks, the energy was electric. His sets weren't just DJ performances, they were emotional experiences. Crowds didn't just dance, they felt something. What made Avicii different was his ability to blend genres. He wasn't afraid to take country guitars, folk melodies, and soulful vocals and turn them into massive dance anthems. Tracks like Wake Me Up featuring Aloe Blacc didn't sound like typical EDM. They sounded like something else entirely, something bigger. When his debut album True came out in 2013, it polarized the electronic music community. Purists criticized it. They said it wasn't real house music. They said he'd sold out. But millions of listeners didn't care about the gatekeeping. They cared about how the music made them feel. Wake Me Up became one of the most streamed songs in history. It topped charts in over 20 countries. It played at weddings, at parties, on road trips. It became a generational anthem. And Avicii proved that EDM could be more than four-to-the-floor beats and build-ups. It could tell stories. His follow-up album, Stories, continued that vision. Tracks like Waiting for Love and The Nights carried the same melodic, emotionally driven energy. He was redefining what a dance music producer could be, not just a DJ, but a songwriter, a storyteller, an artist. By 2014, Avicii was one of the highest-paid DJs in the world. He was flying between continents every weekend, playing festivals for hundreds of thousands of people, and collaborating with artists like Coldplay and Madonna, living the dream. But behind the scenes, the dream was starting to crack. The touring schedule was relentless, 300-plus shows a year, different city every night, different country every week, sleep on planes, wake up in a hotel, sound check, perform, move on, repeat. Tim had always been introverted, quiet, reserved. He was the kind of person who needed time alone to recharge. But the machine of the music industry does not care about personality types. It cares about ticket sales, festival slots, and momentum. Tim was caught in it. By 2014, his health was deteriorating. He had been hospitalized for acute pancreatitis triggered by excessive drinking and the stress of constant travel. Doctors warned him to slow down, but the bookings kept coming. The money kept flowing. The pressure to keep going was suffocating. In 2016, he released a documentary called True Stories. It was supposed to be a celebration of his career, but what it revealed was something much darker. You could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight of expectation, the disconnect between who he was and what the world wanted him to be. In one scene, he is sitting with his management, talking about the endless touring schedule. He looks tired, defeated, and he says something that stuck with everyone who watched it. "I just want to make music. That is all I ever wanted to do." The documentary showed the hidden cost of success, the toll of being constantly on, the loneliness of hotel rooms, the anxiety of never being able to stop. Tim was not thriving. He was surviving. And in interviews during that time, you could hear the conflict. He would talk about loving his fans, loving the music, but feeling trapped by the machine. He would describe feeling like he did not have control over his own life anymore, like the train was moving too fast and he could not get off. In March 2016, he made a decision. He announced he was retiring from touring. No more festival stages, no more club residencies, no more flying around the world every weekend. He was done. The announcement shocked the industry. At 26, he was at the peak of his career. But for Tim, it was not about career trajectory, it was about survival. After stepping away from touring, Tim tried to find peace. He moved to Los Angeles and he focused on production, working on new music. But the damage had already been done. The pressure did not disappear. The expectations did not fade. The internal struggles he had been dealing with for years were still there. Anxiety, depression, and the emotional cost of fame persisted. On April 20th, 2018, the music world received devastating news. Tim Bergling had passed away in Oman. He was 28 years old. The response was immediate and global. Tributes poured in from every corner of the music industry. Artists, DJs, producers, fans, everyone shared their grief. Festivals held moments of silence. Radio stations played his music for hours. Social media flooded with memories. His death forced an industry-wide conversation about mental health, touring culture, and the pressures placed on young artists. People started asking harder questions. How many shows is too many? What are we doing to protect artists' well-being? What does success actually cost? The EDM community, in particular, was shaken. Avicii wasn't just a successful DJ. He was a symbol of the genre's golden era. He represented the hope and energy and possibility of that moment in the early 2010s, when dance music felt like it could take over the world. Losing him felt like losing a piece of that era. His family later released a statement explaining that Tim had struggled deeply with his mental health, that he could not go on, and that he wanted to find peace. It was a tragedy that could have been prevented. The music world has spent the years since trying to make sure it does not happen again. But Avicii's legacy isn't defined by how his story ended. It's defined by the music he made and the impact he had on an entire generation. He changed the sound of electronic dance music. Before Avicii, mainstream dance music was largely dominated by aggressive electro house and hard-hitting festival bangers. Avicii brought melody back to the center. He showed that dance music could be emotional, vulnerable, uplifting, that it could make you cry as easily as it could make you dance. His influence is everywhere. You hear it in artists like Kygo, who built an entire career on the melodic, feel-good sound Avicii pioneered. You hear it in Martin Garrix, in Alesso, in every producer who values melody as much as the drop. Avicii proved that EDM didn't have to choose between accessibility and artistry. Levels defined an era. Even today, more than a decade later, when that piano riff plays, people remember where they were when they first heard it. The festivals, the friends, the feeling. It's a time capsule of a specific moment in music history, a moment when EDM felt limitless. And beyond the music, Avicii's story started critical conversations about mental health in the industry. His death was not in vain. It forced labels, managers, and festivals to rethink how they treat their artists. It made mental health support a priority. It made people realize that the person behind the stage name is still just a person. Tim Bergling wanted to make music that moved people, and he succeeded beyond measure. His songs are still played at festivals, at parties, in moments of celebration and reflection. His melodies are still teaching young producers what electronic music can be. His legacy is still shaping the sound of the genre. Avicii didn't just change EDM, he defined a generation of it. He showed us that dance music could be more than escapism, it could be art. That a kid from Stockholm with a laptop and a dream could reach the entire world. And while his story ended too soon, the music he left behind will echo for decades. Because that's the thing about great music. It doesn't fade. It just keeps finding new people, new moments, new memories. And every time that piano riff from Levels plays, Tim Bergling is still here. If you want more deep dives into the artists and moments that shaped electronic music, subscribe to EDM Archives. We're telling the stories that matter.